Imagine waking up one morning and realizing the sun has not set in weeks. Not for days, not even for a month. For half a year, the sky above your home is bright, restless, almost stubbornly unwilling to go dark. Now imagine that this is not a rare event, not a once-in-a-lifetime phenomenon, but the normal rhythm of your life. There is a place in Alaska where the sun can remain above the horizon for about 6 months straight. A place where summer feels endless, where children play outside at midnight under a glowing sky, where people mow lawns after dinner in what looks and feels like the middle of the afternoon. And then, just when that bright world seems impossible to imagine ending, the darkness returns and stays for months. This is the story of the village of Utqiaġvik, formerly known as Barrow, one of the northernmost communities in the United States, and one of the most fascinating places on Earth. It is a place where nature does not merely influence daily life. It dominates it, shapes it, forces everyone who lives there to adapt in ways most of us will never experience. Today, we are going inside the village that stays awake for 6 months at a time in Alaska. But this is not just a story about the sun. It is a story about survival, tradition, isolation, endurance, and the people who have built a life at the edge of the Arctic. Before we begin, it helps to understand just how extreme this place really is. Utqiaġvik sits far above the Arctic Circle at the top of Alaska's North Slope. It is not connected to the state's road system, which means you cannot simply drive there from Anchorage or Fairbanks. You get there by plane or by boat when conditions allow. It is remote in a way that is hard for most people to fully grasp. If you live there, you are not passing through on the way to somewhere else. You are there because this is your home. And home, in this part of the world, means living with one of the most dramatic light cycles on the planet. Each year, around mid-May, the sun rises and does not fully set again until late July. Then, for weeks after that, the daylight remains overwhelming. Even when the sun dips low, it hovers near the horizon, bathing the land in a long golden glow that can last for hours. The term midnight sun almost sounds poetic when you hear it from afar, but in Utqiaġvik, it is a practical reality. Then, as autumn deepens, the world begins to change. The sun lowers. The days shrink. Twilight stretches shorter and shorter until one day the sun disappears below the horizon and does not return for about 2 months. This is the polar night, and it transforms the village into a place where darkness becomes the main feature of the landscape. If that sounds dramatic, that is because it is. But the people here do not live as prisoners of the light and dark. They live with them. They understand them. They plan around them. Their routines, traditions, and identities have been shaped by them over generations. And that is where the real story begins. Utqiaġvik is home to Iñupiat people, indigenous Alaskan native communities with a long history in the Arctic. Their connection to this land goes back thousands of years. Long before weather reports, satellites, or modern maps, they learned to read the ice, the wind, the animals, and the seasons. They built a culture that was not simply adapted to the Arctic, but deeply interwoven with it. In a place where farming is nearly impossible and imported goods are expensive, survival historically depended on hunting, sharing, and community. The ocean and the tundra provided what they needed. Whales, seals, walrus, caribou, fish, and birds became central to both diet and culture. The rhythms of life were tied not just to sun and darkness, but to migration patterns, sea ice conditions, and the timing of seasonal hunts. This is one reason why Utqiaġvik is so remarkable. It is not merely a village enduring extreme conditions. It is a community with a long memory, one that has been living in dialogue with the Arctic for centuries. And yet, despite this deep tradition, life there is not frozen in the past. Modern Utqiaġvik is a place where snow machines share space with satellite dishes, where traditional subsistence hunting exists alongside schools, clinics, and stores, where people can stream movies during the midnight sun and also prepare for the arrival of winter darkness with a seriousness that outsiders may find hard to imagine. Because in Utqiaġvik, darkness is not just a poetic concept. It is a logistical reality. When the sun disappears for weeks, people have to manage their mental and physical routines carefully. Sleep can become irregular. Time can feel strange. Without sunlight, it is easy to lose your sense of day and night. Some residents use blackout curtains in summer and bright lamps in winter to help their bodies stay in rhythm. Children still go to school, adults still work, and life continues, but the relationship to time becomes different. There is an old joke among people who live in Arctic regions. During the endless daylight, you can work too late because your body keeps telling you it is not time to stop. And during the long darkness, you can forget what hour it is altogether. But behind the humor is a real challenge. Seasonal light changes can affect mood, sleep, and energy. People have to be intentional about staying balanced. In many northern communities, including Utqiaġvik, winter can be psychologically difficult for some residents, especially those not raised in it. Yet locals often speak about the darkness differently than outsiders expect. They do not only describe it as hardship, they also describe its beauty. Because the Arctic darkness has something profound about it. The sky can be filled with stars in a way that city dwellers rarely see. The aurora borealis, or northern lights, often dances across the winter sky in green, violet, and red waves. Snow reflects moonlight and starlight, turning the whole landscape into a muted silver world. The darkness is not empty. It is alive, and the summer light, just as much, is not simply bright. It is liberating. When the sun stays up for weeks, people make the most of every hour. There are baseball games, community events, long walks, fishing trips, and time spent outdoors that would seem impossible in most places at 2 in the morning. The midnight sun can create a strange sense of urgency too. If the weather is good, people know they must take advantage of it. In the Arctic, conditions can change fast, and a bright sky does not guarantee comfort. Even in summer, it can be cold, windy, and wet. Still, the psychological effect of endless daylight is real. For visitors, it can be thrilling at first. For residents, it is familiar, but not always easy. The body wants rest, but the world refuses to go dark. That tension between environment and human rhythm is one of the defining features of life in Utqiaġvik. But light is only one part of the story. To really understand this village, you have to understand its location. Utqiaġvik is perched at the edge of the Arctic Ocean, and the land around it is harsh, flat, and exposed. There are no forests to block the wind, no hills to create shelter, no highways to connect it to larger population centers. In winter, temperatures can plunge well below zero, and with wind chill, it can feel even colder. The sea ice that once formed a stable part of the landscape has become less predictable in recent years as the climate warms, which has created major challenges for hunters and for the entire local ecosystem. This is where the story gets even more serious. For centuries, the people here have relied on sea ice as a platform for travel, hunting, and seasonal life. But as the climate changes, the ice forms later, breaks up earlier, and becomes less reliable. That means not only a change in scenery, but a change in safety, food security, and culture. When people talk about climate change in abstract terms, it can sound distant, like a problem for the future. In Utqiaġvik, it is visible in the present. The land itself is shifting. Coastlines are eroding. Permafrost is thawing. Traditional hunting routes are becoming less stable. This is not just an environmental issue. It is a daily reality. And yet, the people of Utqiaġvik have never been defined only by what they endure. They are defined by how they respond. Community is one of the strongest themes here. In a place this remote, people depend on each other in very direct ways. Sharing food is not just generosity. It is a cultural foundation. Elders pass down knowledge to younger generations. Families collaborate. Neighbors check on one another. When supplies are limited and conditions are severe, the social fabric matters as much as the physical one. That sense of togetherness can be especially important during the darkest months. Imagine a winter day in Utqiaġvik. The sun has not risen. The sky holds only the faint memory of light. The temperature is punishing. Outside, everything is coated in frost. Inside, people gather around work, school, meals, and shared routines that keep life steady. The world feels smaller, but the bonds inside it can feel stronger. And then, slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, the light begins to return. That moment means more than just a change in weather. It feels like a signal, a promise. The community has made it through another dark season. For many visitors, the idea of 6 months of daylight sounds almost unbelievable. But the people who live here might point out that the more unusual experience, in some ways, is the darkness. The long summer sun can be exhilarating, but it is also the season when the village works hardest, prepares, harvests, hunts, repairs, and takes advantage of every available window. Time in the Arctic is measured differently, not just by clocks, but by opportunity. There are stories from residents who say the endless daylight makes you forget to go home. You might work on a boat, fish, visit family, or walk along the shore and suddenly realize that what feels like late afternoon is actually the middle of the night. Children can stay outside later. Dogs roam under a bright sky. The whole village can feel suspended in a dreamlike condition. But that dream comes with practical consequences too. People need curtains that can block out sunlight when they want to sleep. They need strict routines, especially children and workers. Some use eye masks. Some take melatonin. Some simply adapt after years of living there. Outsiders often imagine that because the sun is up, the body should feel energetic and happy all the time. But the reality is more complicated. Excess light can be just as disorienting as total darkness. This is why the residents of Utqiaġvik often develop a deep respect for routine. The village teaches discipline, not through lectures, but through necessity. Another thing that makes Utqiaġvik fascinating is that it exists at the edge of modern infrastructure, yet remains deeply connected to global change. In recent years, it has drawn attention from scientists, journalists, travelers, and climate researchers from around the world. People come to see the midnight sun, the polar night, the tundra, the wildlife, and the people who live here. But when they arrive, many discover that the true story is not just one of extremes. It is one of balance. Because despite all the harshness, life in Utqiaġvik is not a constant struggle against nature. It is an ongoing negotiation with it. That distinction matters. For example, consider food. In many places, food is a consumer choice. In Utqiaġvik, food is also geography, season, and culture. Store-bought food is available, but it can be expensive because everything has to be flown or shipped in. Traditional foods remain important not only for nutrition, but for identity and connection. Hunting and sharing are still central to the local way of life. Eating whale meat, seal, or caribou is not just about survival. It is about continuity with ancestors and community. This connection to land and sea gives the village a sense of resilience that outsiders can easily underestimate. And resilience is perhaps the best word to describe Utqiaġvik. It is resilient in how it handles isolation, resilient in how it preserves language and tradition, resilient in how it faces climate challenges that would overwhelm many places, resilient in how it welcomes a sky that can hold daylight for half the year and darkness for the other half. Even its name reflects that resilience. The change from Barrow to Utqiaġvik was more than a symbolic gesture. It was a restoration of indigenous identity, a recognition of the people who have long called this place home. Names matter. They carry memory. They tell you who gets to define a place, and whose history is honored. For residents, that matters deeply, because too often, remote Arctic communities are described only in terms of their extremity. They are treated like curiosities, like oddities on a map. But Utqiaġvik is not a novelty. It is a living community with schools, families, churches, cultural events, work, laughter, grief, and daily responsibilities. People are born there. People grow old there. People fall in love there. People build futures there. That human reality is easy to lose when you focus only on the sun. And yet the sun is part of the reason the village has captured the imagination of so many people. There is something profoundly moving about a place where the sky refuses to behave in the way most of us expect. We are used to the day ending and the night beginning. We think of time as predictable. Utqiaġvik reminds us that the Earth is not designed to center our habits. The planet turns, the axis tilts, and certain places are forced to live in conditions that feel almost mythical. But for the people there, it is not myth. It is home. That may be the most surprising part of all. What seems astonishing from the outside becomes ordinary when lived every year. The endless summer sky becomes a season. The long winter dark becomes a season. The rhythms of life adapt. The village learns to breathe with the light. And in that adaptation, there is a lesson for all of us. Human beings are incredibly adaptable, but adaptation is not the same as domination. The people of Utqiaġvik do not control the Arctic. They respect it. They prepare for it. They live with it. That humility may be one of the greatest reasons the community has endured for so long. As the world changes, their knowledge becomes even more valuable. The Arctic is not a distant, empty place. It is a warning, a teacher, and a home to thousands of people whose lives are directly tied to the health of the planet. If the ice changes here, the effects are felt everywhere. So when we look at Utqiaġvik, we are not just looking at a village with 6 months of sunlight. We are looking at a place where human beings have built a meaningful life at the far edge of what many would call habitable. We are looking at a community that has endured extremes without losing itself. We are looking at a reminder that culture, identity, and resilience can be stronger than climate, distance, and darkness. And perhaps that is why Utqiaġvik continues to fascinate people around the world. Not because it is strange, but because it proves something deeply human. Even in the most extreme conditions, life finds a way to make itself beautiful. So the next time you complain about a long summer day or a dark winter evening, think for a moment about the village at the top of Alaska, where the sun can stay awake for months and the night can do the same. Think about the families who live there, the traditions they protect, and the strength it takes to call that place home. Because inside that Arctic village, time moves differently, light behaves differently, and life itself becomes a story of endurance. If you enjoyed this journey into one of Alaska's most extraordinary villages, make sure to like the video, subscribe for more stories like this, and leave a comment telling me which remote place in the world you want to explore next.